Hi, everyone.
Hi. Nanaya and I are going to be facilitating this conversation. So first we're going to start with an introduction, but we're going to also be doing 2 polls. So we would like to have you participate in the first of these 2 polls. I've put a chat in our Zoom group chat here for how you can access this poll. This first one is so that we can get a good idea of from where everyone is coming and joining us today, just so we can kind of get a little idea. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself and pass it over to Nanaya. My name is Juliet Zimmer, and I have the great pleasure of being the coordinator for the Center for Peace and Commerce at the University of San Diego. We have, among many programs, our flagship program is the Fowler Global Social Innovation Challenge. This was started in 2011, and it has grown into a global competition, and we are very privileged to be working closely with St. Thomas University, and I have the great pleasure of working with Nanaya closely to put on this wonderful annual competition.
Thank you, Juliet, and hi, everyone. So glad that you could join us today. Like Juliet said, we work very closely together on the Fowler Global Social Innovation Challenge, and I work here in Minneapolis, Minnesota with the University of St. Thomas at the Shaw School of Entrepreneurship. My background is in entrepreneurship and international development. I'm originally from Ghana. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so I love this work. It's what I live for. I work with social and small and medium-sized entrepreneurs in Kenya, Tanzania, Liberia, basically East and West Africa. And I really bring a lot of that lens of global partnerships to the work that we do here at St. Thomas. And today we're very excited again to have all of you join us in our panel of speakers from San Diego, Casey Myers, Jules Porter, and Henry Kisutu. So we'll head into introductions soon, but I think Juliet will take up again for our poll that we shared with you guys. Would love to hear from you.
So I am going to share my screen momentarily so that we can all see the results here of where everyone is coming in. So we have Rochester, San Diego, Michigan, Minnesota. It looks like we have kind of dotted around. So that is lovely. Thanks all for participating.
Great. Thank you, Juliet. So at this time, we would love to just get right started with our session. Now, as you noticed, the description is really focused around looking at the stories of entrepreneurs from our university ecosystems. We truly believe that universities play a huge role in creating, supporting, and really growing entrepreneurial spirits. But we also know that there are pitfalls, right? Sometimes we end up creating what we've come to know in this space as heropreneurs. So we really wanted to today kind of play around with that theme, but also explore the stories of entrepreneurs, how they got where they are, what inspires them, who their heroes are, and think through how they avoid becoming a heropreneur in their own context. So the theme will be woven through our session today. We invite you to share your questions with us through Emily. Throughout the session, we'll be taking questions at the end. And we would love to get started today with Casey. We'll move through from Casey to Henry to Jules Porter. And we want to invite them to tell us a bit about their stories. First of all, we would love to know your major and the year you graduated from your respective university. So today we have University of San Diego and St. Thomas represented. And just share with us how you got started and where you are now with your ventures. So Casey, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a master's in social innovation from University of San Diego and finished this, past May. So May of 2019, finished there, and had gone into that program where previously I had been volunteering in different refugee camps around the world. And I been traveling for a very long time. I think I've been to like over 50 countries now. And at this point now have used my skills and what I learned in my master's program at USD to actually found my own nonprofit. And we have locations in Greece as well as now in Mexico, working in migrant shelters and refugee camps, teaching digital literacy and English skills.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Casey.
So my name is Jules Porter. I graduated from the University of St. Thomas in 2018 with my JD and my MBA. So that means I went to law school and I went to business school. I had an amazing time. I loved every moment of it. My business is actually a video game development company. And so we make video games that basically feature a hero for every player. Can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
I just wanted to have some visual because I don't have a webcam. I'm the last millennial who just has no webcam. Everybody
yes,
thinks
Jules,
because yeah, everybody thinks because I'm the tech person that I would be super into it. But I tell them no, when you understand the coding and how easy these things are to hack, you're a little bit more averse to things. So
wow.
Yeah, but my company actually got started at St. Thomas. I helped the law school develop a class called Race Practice in the Pursuit of Justice. It talked about how people in America specifically form their ideas of race, where those ideas come from. And I found that, man, so many of our ideas come from the media, and that a lot of people of color have no access or control over the media. But hey, I can code, so maybe I have some access over video games. It's the industry that I know so well. I'm a lifelong gamer. On the MBA side of it, we had a business competition at St. Thomas. I entered it, and to my amazement, I won the competition. I entered the next one, won that, and I just went on and on. So this has just been quite amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jules. We'll be digging deeper into your story too as we go along. Henry, are you still there? Okay, I think we're having some tech issues. You can never trust technology, right? Okay. So while we wait for Henry to reconnect, we would love to just delve deeper into the stories of each of our panelists. And Juliet, would you like to take it up with Casey?
Absolutely. So Casey, I am going to have us circle back to our theme in the Heropreneur. Casey, would you be so kind as to give us kind of like your definition of Heropreneur and how your experience at USD helped to train your understanding of how best to meet your community's needs with your venture and avoid the pitfalls of coming in as a hero?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely that was something that we really wanted to take a look at in the social innovation program, was heropreneurship. What does that mean? And really we kind of roundtabled it and ended up deciding that it's really someone that thinks that they can come into a space with all the answers instead of the questions. And so really, how do you identify what are the right questions to ask, and how do you make sure that you're opening yourself to be able to hear what they have to say, people that are already in that space have to say, instead of just what you might want to hear, what you expect to hear. And that's a pitfall that a lot of people with the very best of interest can fall into. And so I think from my program, I really benefited from having some really, really amazing mentors. A few of my professors in particular, Ev Mead, Paula Cordero, Karen Hankin, were amazing. I would say, because I was coming from more of, my previous work mostly had been in Europe, and I really wanted to start working with refugees along the US-Mexico border, because living in San Diego, all of a sudden we were having this crisis while I was in grad school, only 20 miles south. So a quick drive down there. So I think that Ev Mead really was able to show me how to connect, and helped me connect with a lot of people that were in that space, both refugees, asylum seekers, as well as people that were activists, that were working in the nonprofit space in shelters, assisting people on the ground, so you can figure out what are the needs here, what's being met, and really be able to identify what are the gaps not just that I see, but that they see and they feel like they need to be filled. And then I think also with particularly from Karen and from Paula was building partnerships. You don't go in and do it on your own. Find out what's there and work with people that are there and work together in this space, because you're able to share a different mindset. So right now I've been able to turn that into my organization, One Digital World. We're already partnering with 2 different migrant shelters and are in communication with more, starting those up. So we're currently working with Espacio Migrante that's there. We're working with Embajador de Jesus and the Borderline Crisis Center. They've been phenomenal, and they have an insight that we would never have been able to get to without their help, and really being able to meet people that are in that space. So I think that that's really transformed and allowed us to be able to help in the way that's actually the most useful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I totally hear you and how partnerships are just so instrumental. A lot of people think that that there's a natural competition, and that finding partnerships isn't something that's going to benefit you, but really hearing you say that putting the needs of the community that you're serving first is just the foundation that you need in order to build better partnerships. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it looks like we might have Henry back on. Hi, Henry.
Yes, we do. Hi, Henry. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Great.
Okay.
So we missed the chance to hear your story. So if you could share it with us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I was born in Uganda, and at the age of about 3 years, I lost both my parents. It was a hard time. So I grew up with my grandma. I grew up with my auntie, and my grandma raised me, and it was really challenging, and that's where I get most of my my zeal to go through life, because it hit me right off the bat. So I grew up in Uganda, and I was born in a small village there. So at the age of 5, my grandma and my auntie picked me up, and they raised me until I was 17. And fortunately came to me, St. Thomas was giving up a couple of scholarships, and I was one of the recipients for the disease scholarships. So this was in 2007. I was very lucky to get that, because I thought, with our parents, so life was it. So I had that scholarship. I came here in 2007. I didn't know how to speak English, so I learned that. So I did my general business degree at St. Thomas, and I did my human resource and change leadership at St. Thomas. So that's pretty much my story. I've traveled. I've lived in Australia for a while. I lived in Hawaii for a while. I love meeting people. I love Native people. I love all the people of the land, because it's through that we learn something. Everybody has something to share with everybody, and it's important to listen. But today I have two objectives. I want you guys and the people who are watching us to at least have their money worth, and also have their time worth. Because as an entrepreneur, I value time. I know time is more than money. You can make more money, but you cannot make more time. So hopefully I can bring that value to you guys and the people who are watching us today, and also continue sharing my story. I'll be sharing some of the juices. I'm the founder of Jaja Wellness Tonics. And it's a company here in Minnesota. I started it in Hawaii, and now I moved here after getting an investor. I saw, I think Paula or somebody was on Shark Tank, that was one of my dreams too, to go Shark Tank. So,
Okay.
but congratulations to you guys, and this is a great work. I'm so happy and to be here. And if you have any questions, if you can't hear my accent, just let me know. I've been living with so many people, so I picked up a lot of accents. So yeah, but thank you so much for inviting me to this panel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Henry. We really appreciate you sharing, your personal story and really talking through some of those hardships and how you growing up in Uganda, all of that shaped who you are today. And later on, we'll get the chance to hear too about your grandma who ended up taking care of you and really being the inspiration behind Jaja Wellness. So we're going to hear more about that. But before we do that, I would love to just go back to Jules. Jules, you're still here, right?
Yeah, hey.
So you've had extensive experience just participating in student competitions. You are now a Innovation Fellow at the Innovation Lab here in Minneapolis. You were a former Marine, if I remember correctly. You're a JD MBA. We really want to just kind of hear how all of those experiences, particularly the university ecosystems, the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Minneapolis. Would love to hear more about how that has shaped you as an entrepreneur and how St. Thomas, your experience here at the university also contributed or influenced where you are, influenced you where you are now.
Very cool. Well, the first thing I'll say is that I think St. Thomas is a place that for me was so full of heroes. I got to see so many female leaders in particular who definitely conducted their work with a lot of boldness, even if that work was maybe contradictory to each other. They did it very boldly. And so, like, when you guys talked about heropreneur, man, I love that term. This is actually my first time hearing it. And the first thing that came to mind was like, that's a person that leads with integrity. That's a person who's fearless. They're a servant leader. And we expect people with power to put others first. And when they don't, they're no longer the hero, they're the villain of the story. And so I thought like that is such a cool term. But no, what St. Thomas has taught me, especially my time in this fellowship has taught me, is to meet challenges head on with curiosity and with confidence, and that's because, yeah, I'm a lawyer. I went to seminary. Oh my God, I code, I was in the Marine Corps. But of all these things that you're hearing, what you don't hear is that I had any formal schooling in coding, right, and in art. Like those are skills that I just picked over time, just being a nerd, right? Just wanting to know how to do things on the computer, wanting to have the coolest profile on MySpace. Like that's what led me to learn HTML. You guys remember MySpace?
Yes.
Yeah, and then from being in the Marine Corps, because we actually didn't have much privacy. So my job in the Marine Corps was I went in as an engineer, but then I was in the top 10% of the Marine Corps, so I got a chance to guard embassies. So I worked with the Department of State, and we guarded like ambassadors, diplomats, foreign heads of state when they came to the American embassies. So that was really cool, but it also meant like we didn't have much privacy. And so I had to like learn how to code so I can partition off parts of my computer just to have a diary, like just to be able to have a journal of my private thoughts.
Very interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And so that was just kind of out of necessity, but it's really great to find a way to be able to put that together and to find a way to bring a voice to underrepresented people and underestimated people. What people really don't understand about the video game industry is that, man, people think that the average gamer is like the white guy in his 20s who lives in his parents' basement, which is ridiculous. But the average gamer, though, is actually a brown-skinned man in his 30s who's a parent, right? And so, like, when you actually realize that, right, you might make different decisions about the types of games that you make, knowing that, right, the average gamer is not only somebody playing games for himself, but also playing games for his kids. And what games out there are games where a young Black kid can play and say, oh, I'm the hero in this game. There really aren't very many. Less than 3% of the heroes are people of color, despite 70 to 80% of people of color playing video games of some form. So I just found all these things ridiculous. But what I did find also was pushing myself, right? Because it's so hard for females to get funding, especially Black women. So I think Black women, when they have a venture, they get about they're able to raise about $32,000 worth of funding, whereas a white guy is able to raise like $1.2 million worth of funding for his venture. And so like Black women are expected to do so much more with so much less. And so there's so many things that I had to learn. So this art right here that I have right here, this is Miss Billy. She is the Mississippi Supersonic. She's a speedster. And I had to learn
her name again?
Her name is Miss Billy. Her name is Billy Mahalia Rudolph. She's the Mississippi Supersonic. Nice. And so in November of 2019, I didn't know how to create 3D models, or I was no artist at all. But in that time, like I put my all into it and I learned how to create 3D models, and now I'm making photorealistic characters. So it's just pushing yourself and rising to challenges. But I know I've talked a lot, even though I have more to say. So I'll pass it off to someone else.
No, thank you so much. It's just really interesting just hearing all the various parts of your story. I mean, from Marines to being a lawyer, being a gamer. I mean, just very, very unique, and how all of that kind of intersected. So thank you for sharing. Jules, I know you have way more to share, but and that's okay. That's why we're here. So please keep saving those stories for us. I think, Juliet, we wanted to just launch back out into the room again. We wanted to reconnect with our audience and have a sense of who's in the room.
Exactly. We would love to know who is in the room. So we're doing another poll. We have options for a student, for an educator, a social innovator, and a superhero. So if you refer back to the chat, you can use that URL or text Fowler Global to 22333, and then text in your response for either A for a student, B for an educator or university admin, C for social innovator, or D for superhero. Okay.
Great.
So we'll give a little bit of time for these results to come in. I see that they're coming in. And while we have those results coming in, we do want to honor and give some time for audience Q&A as well. So to kind of give everyone an opportunity to get your questions in the chat so that we can read them to our social innovators, we're just going to toss out a little question to each of our panelists, which is, how have you, if you have, pivoted in your venture, and what advice would you have for our audience on being a resilient entrepreneur, especially during this time? So Henry, would you like to kick us off with a response to that?
Slide over here. Well, that's a great question. Can you all see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'll go. I didn't get a chance also to talk through about my superheroes, but maybe when we get a chance at the end, I'll go through.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah. So the question about resiliency, I think we all know that we are living in a really hard times right now, especially for the businesses. Especially for the small businesses, because for people like me who are just started, we're pretty new on this stage. We don't know when this hit, we didn't know what to do. So we started, figuring out new things. But to answer your question, I think, let me see the first slide over here. One thing that I'm doing is, I can't find the slide here, sorry. Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to talk about was the flexibility of being flexible in these times. And it has been really hard for us to change the ways we have been doing. For example, for me, I've been going to the stores and doing sampling and telling people my story. I can't do that now. And I'm a people person. I would like to go to people and talk to them about stuff. I've had to change that, and that's part of being innovative. Right now, I'm going to online. I'm doing stuff on online side, going to Amazon, saying, hey, here I have a product. Would you like to take me on? Also, life. I take life as a season. So, you know, my grandma used to say this for me every single time. You know, life is like a season. It's someday it's gonna rain. You know, someday it's gonna be sunny. Like if you live in Minnesota, we have even more seasons.
Yes.
So you gotta get ready for the winter. You gotta get for the summer. So that's how I look at this. And I know it feels like it's prolonging itself and staying for longer, but it's gonna end. And that's another thing I want to pass on to people. And also stay connected because like you, the panelists have been saying, you guys have traveled, you have seen things, how it work, and you've seen how small the world is becoming. And when you stay connected, it easily opens your eyes to see new things. Like for example, I'm not good with technology, you know, but when I travel, I see what other people are doing, you know, like Zoom is like maybe like a couple, I've been with Zoom, like maybe this is my second time being on Zoom. So when you get connected, you see how other people are doing things. And also, this is also one of the things I learned from St. Thomas. Again, I didn't get a chance to answer that question, but stay connected to where you come from, and also the people you meet, because I strongly believe that every person you meet in life is there for a reason. And you may not see it, but in the future it may come up. I can give you numerous examples of why, of the people I met and why I'm here. And you know, it led me to here. And also anybody met, like the guy I met on Hawaii, I mean in Australia when I was living there, and I met him in the restaurant, and he saw me. He just, you know, started, you know, talking to me, and he bought me dinner. And I asked him, why did you do this? And he goes, in the future, you're gonna be able to do this for somebody else. So we made a connection. We're still friends. Anytime I want to go, I can go there. The other last point I want to make is value. As entrepreneurs, we have to create value. And I like the term that you guys used today, the superheroes. We're in some way we're kind of a superhero, not to, like, you know, throw it overboard, but that the value you create to the society is very, very important. But I will say this too, it takes time to bring value to the marketplace. So I was in a meeting pushing for investor for my juices, and I had 4 guys, kind of like Shark Tank. I didn't get to the point to go to Shark Tank, but kind of. So I was talking to them, pitching really hard. You know how those meetings go. And one guy asked me, so how long are you willing to put in without being paid? And I said, 7 years. He turns around and he turns around and he goes, he's in, you know. So, but I want to make a point. I'm saying that to make a point. It takes a lot of time to get that value to the marketplace. And once you get there, it's always gonna work out. You know, it's always gonna work out, because right now we are in a hard times. But if you have a value added product on the market, once everything settles down, I can guarantee you we're gonna go back to, you know, people buying those kind of value product. And I'll end with this. I don't know if you guys are Christian, but I was raised in so many Christian, so I'm gonna throw it there anyways. Jesus was asked once, how do you become an important person? and he said, by serving many or being a servant, me as a person, I look at being an entrepreneur as a servant, somebody who creates that value to many, many, many people, to the point that when you even pass out or you die, you're still creating value. And that's what personally, for me, that's what entrepreneurship is. And that's the resilience that I want to have. No matter what comes, I will go through it. It's hard, but I do it. You know, you guys know you have to, if it's hard, you gotta do it the hard way. Yeah, thank you so much, Ken.
Love that. Thank you so much, Henry. I love those notes about legacy and servant leadership, or serving people, having value, and value will outlive some of the hardest times, and legacy will do that as well. Thank you so much. Really great themes. Thank you so much. We'll give Casey and Jules a chance to respond to that question as well before we log back in and see the result of our poll and open up for questions as well. Casey, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about resiliency and how you are managing, these uncertain times right now as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think one of the key words that I heard you saying when you were first asking the question was do you need to pivot? And that's huge. When I first started doing this, I was volunteering in a refugee camp in Lesvos, Greece, in the heart of the European refugee crisis.
Wow.
And just started. I literally was hearing about the crisis that was going on, and I quit my job, and I rented out my house, and I sold all my stuff. I couldn't fit into a backpack, and I bought a one-way ticket to Greece. And I thought, well, I'm not quite sure what they're gonna need, but I've managed a staff of 90 in successful companies, and I also know how to clean toilets and pick up garbage. So whatever you need, let's go. Let's figure it out. I'm down. I'm up for it. And so ended up going out there, and I thought, well, I can handle anything for 30 days. We'll try it. We'll see how it goes. I have no idea what to expect, no preconceptions. And 30 days turned into a year. I ended up being out there volunteering and ended up starting several different educational programs. One teaching English, a program for children, and then ended up with the idea of starting a computer lab, because the longer that I was there, the more I found refugees living in the camp that I built relationships were end up getting their paperwork and getting to move into other countries in Europe and getting to move out of the camps. And life in a refugee camp is those that haven't been there, I'm sure, can imagine it's not ideal. No one's there by choice. And as much as they wanted to get out, once they ended up resettling into neighborhoods and apartments, a lot of them actually ended up missing it. And they missed the camp so much. And that was so surprising to me and to them. And they struggled. There was a lot of struggle. It wasn't over. Things weren't solved because they'd moved out of the camps. They had trouble finding jobs. They couldn't speak the language, same language as people in their community that they moved to. They didn't have support networks there, and culture was totally different. And so that's why I wanted to start something and use the time that they're in camps. Most people stay in the refugee camps for about 1 to 2 years. And it's just kind of wasted time. So I wanted to figure out, how can we use this as an investment in the future and prepare you? And so I really identified, okay, knowing how to use technology and computers for everything from work to even just everyday life is so important. It helps you connect with your support network that you don't have in this new place, and helps you have skills that match the labor market into this new culture that you're moving into. And, really wanted them to learn how to use technology so that they can use technology to learn. So much empowering. It's not that they didn't have intelligence. It's that there is this amazing resource, and we just wanted to give them the tools to be able to do these things for themselves. And So we transformed from just being literally, I started the first computer lab in a tiny little trailer in the camp to now working in several shelters, migrant shelters in Mexico. And so we've really grown and changed so much. And a big part of that also was when I went to University of San Diego, came in this idea of, oh, I really enjoyed setting up these programs. How can I do more of that? And then being invited and almost and certainly pushed along to enter the Fowler Global Social Innovation Challenge, and ended up winning that. And with that was given all of these tools and deadlines to be able to meet, and ended up turning it actually into its own organization, a nonprofit organization. And so now we're self-sustaining and we're able to do this, and
awesome,
so much bigger and on a global scale. And it was just constant changes, constant reevaluations, constant pivoting. So one thing that I learned working in the camps, I actually got, I have a few tattoos, but I got this one right here with other volunteers from the very first camp that I worked in. And it was in Greece. So this is a delta symbol, which I'm also a nerd like Jules. I was a math major for my undergrad. So delta is in math a symbol for change.
Yeah.
Use it for the change. And so we got this to be open to change. So we left it part open.
Love that. Wow. Great reminder.
I see you have
here we are, and every person we are. Huh?
I see you have the evil eye as well.
Yeah, that was a gift. I also have the Somalian bracelet, a gift from some of my students.
Yeah, that's a good charm to have. I have one on my door.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about here, right? It's all about this. And being open to change. You don't know where you're going to end up. No. So knowing that, being able to trust and believe in yourself and the people around you, that you're doing the right thing, and it's okay that it changes. Okay,
I think most people are missing that right now, because for me, when I was a kid, I had no choice but to go and live with wherever life took me. And I usually joke with my wife now, like, I can live on Mars, I can live anywhere, because it gave me that, my background gave me that kind of zeal to like just leave.
Love that. Yeah. You know, I could talk to you guys for hours. I just love hearing your stories and seeing your tattoos. I mean, awesome. This is just beautiful. And I know that, you know, for everyone in this room, there are some really unique stories, and there's a reason why you joined this session. And I honestly wish you could hear everyone's story as well, but I'm hoping we'll definitely have the chance to hear about your heroes, talking to the audience now. And also, you know, I see some questions coming through. We'll be launching over to that in a bit. But before we do, Jules, would you mind sharing a bit about pivoting and handling change? What are some of the tools and lens or perspective that you bring to a time like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And at first I have to apologize to everyone because I have to run out at 2:00 for another awesome meeting. So I'll make this pretty quick. But I did want to hit on before I had to leave that Wonder Woman is absolutely my favorite hero. So if there's any
I'm with you, Jules. Same here.
Yeah, she actually had to work hard and learn and use her skills. And when she gets into a fight, she's all about using her more human skills first, and her superpowers are the last resort. It's totally different than Superman, who's never trained, who always just goes straight for his superpowers and gets beat up every single episode. Anyway, so I recently launched a Kickstarter campaign. It's over now. It did not succeed. It was a failure. And so at the very start of that Kickstarter campaign, I actually there were a group of trolls from like Switzerland, Sweden, like all these European countries who shut my Facebook down, right? Like they caused me a lot of grief, and it was the day after my campaign launch. So I had to spend a lot of time trying to rebuild everything from the damage that they did. But I didn't let that deter me. What I did was I did more and more things to try to find my audience. And so here, this is Manny. I was like, you know what? Instead of dealing with these trolls, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing by bringing about underrepresented people, It's so one huge group of underrepresented people are people who suffer from or who were born with albinism, right? And so there's a huge group of these people over in Africa, like especially Tanzania, Kenya. And I found like, man, the people who were so enthusiastic about my characters and my heroes and what I was doing were people in Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, also Mississippi, Alabama. So these underrepresented people that I'm making these games for are like super, super excited. Made me just feel so great. Like Manny had about 100,000 views in the first week that I released him out there, and just so much positive feedback. And so the thing is, when you have people out there who are trying to discourage you, keep moving forward. If all the research is behind you, right? If your energy is all there, you have things in place, don't let that initial wave of discouragement stop you from reaching your goal. You got to believe in yourself. You got to keep moving. And like Dr. King said, it's the fierce urgency of now. Get it done. So that's it for me, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And I hate that I missed some of your questions, but if anybody wants to email me, you're so free to do so. I'll put my email address in the chat if there's any lingering questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Juliet, we would love to hear the results of the poll, and then what we'll do is shortly after we'll launch into Q&A time with everyone. Thank you so much. We see the great questions coming through and can't wait to have panelists respond to them for you.
Wonderful, yes. So we have about 50% of our audience as students. We have about 38% as an educator or university administrator, and I am thrilled to say we have 13% of our attendees as superheroes.
Love that. Very cool. Very cool. So I think we'll launch into questions. Emily will be facilitating that this part of the session for us. And oh, thank you. Yes, hand claps, Jennifer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, panelists. And please, folks, if you have questions, share them in the chat. But one question that came up was about the digital divide, inspired by Casey's story about her work in the refugee camps. And I'm curious, or the question, which was, what can we learn from your work in the refugee camps to be applied today as it relates to the digital divide and access to technology?
Great question. Yeah, super relevant today when everybody's zooming in for these conferences instead of getting to see each other and, you know, give high fives. We're relying on technology so much more. And, you know, I think that in my line of work, I can't help but find it extremely interesting that before what I was thinking that, you know, there were specific groups that were underprivileged that had so much less access to technology, but now even more so, we're all learning it together. There's so many people. I think maybe Henry, maybe it was you that earlier even said, you know, this is only the second time I've used Zoom. And I think probably so many millions of people just learned how to, you know, video teleconference within the last 30 days with this quarantine, but it's changing for everyone. And we're beginning more and more, literally more and more, to rely on technology and realize that if certain people and certain groups don't have access to this, it's not just about communication, but it's how are we holding back certain groups by not allowing them to have access to education and information. Like I was saying before, you know, we want to empower people. That's our goal. So we just want to be able to teach them how to teach themselves, giving people the tools, not just the information, so that they're able to figure things out and they're able to access what they need to, whether it's, you know, a tutorial or whether it's GPS direction somewhere. All of this information is so important and it unites us. From right now, I'm doing digital classes to my students that are in the refugee camps when I'm not able to get down there, but we've been able to use technology even still to allow our classes to keep going. So I think it's so important, especially in today's world, that we're all on this page, and it doesn't matter what your background is, you know, whether you're from Minnesota or Uganda or San Diego or Paris. We're all the same, and we all have these ideas. So being able to use technology so that we can share those insights, and it really brings us, even though we're farther apart, it really brings us together to be able to share these ideas and these thoughts and be able to grow as a community, a global community.
Yeah. All I can say is welcome to the future.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know if a person who has asked the question is from Africa or, but I grew up there, and every time I go back there, I usually go every other 2 years or a year, and, you know, when money permits me. But you can see it's unbelievable how the technology there is growing, and you can see the need for people to have that. And like you say, like, there's dire places in the concentration camps and all that, and camps in Sudan and all that, and they need this technology. So I mean, I applaud you for what you're doing. It's pretty good for all of us to see and take note. But I mean, you should also make a call for people to, you know, continue donating. I don't know if it's allowed on this, but to continue donating those facilities, because people need them, especially right now, you know, when we can't move, or you don't know, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, thank you for saying that, because that reminds me also something that we had never planned before with my organization, but we've actually been able to be working with the National Lawyers Guild, because we have been working with asylum seekers, and we were teaching classes, but their lawyers are no longer able to go down and meet with them and advise them on their cases for asylum. So we're now working with several different lawyers groups to be able to set up conferences so that they can still meet by using technology and advise their clients through the process. So we're using it for telemedicine, we're using it for legal services, we're using them for education. So it's so important, and what has divided us before, we're actually using technology to be able to bridge that gap. And the more resources that we have, and realize how important it is that everybody has this access.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Casey. I know one question that came through was from Maria Castro. You were asking about superheroes. You're asking, are they more likely to do a great job or reach big goals as they work jointly with other people who have the same purpose, the same dreams? Henry, Casey, I don't know if you want to respond to that. We can chime in as well, just from our experience, Juliet and myself. I would love for Casey or Henry to talk about the importance of collaboration in the kind of work that you do.
And it does look like Jules was able to respond before she hopped up. She said, exactly, Maria, the first superheroes I learned about were real people who did tremendously selfless things and who used their skills to uplift the community. So that servant leadership that Henry was talking about is, you know, how a lot of people first learn about superheroes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because I think somebody was mentioning of how people tend to look at competition and fear it, you know. But for me, I look at, well, how much people I get to participate as a strength. I don't know if you have seen in my slide, I put the word mastermind. I think that's one of the values that I want people to take away. As an entrepreneur person, I'm actually coming up with a book that is going to be next month, coming out I think end of next month. It's called Jesus as an Entrepreneurship Person. And it's interesting to me to see how Jesus was able to get all these other people that people thought that were nothing in the community, but they came together and they were like able to build something that overlasted almost every other organization on the planet. So that's the idea of the book. But anyway, so it's very important for us to come together, especially right now. There's gonna be a lot of people who don't know what to do. Before we had a sense of community, but after a couple of years, we've been very individualistic, and we don't know, people don't know what, especially the youth, they don't know where to go and certain things. And we cannot underestimate when people come together. There's a power that is still within the people. I got a chance to live in Australia, and I spent 2 weeks with the Aboriginal people there, which turned out to be really, really awesome experience for me. Because when I was in Uganda, I thought, all I knew was in Uganda. But then I reached in Australia, and everybody thinks like me, like the Aboriginal people, thinks exactly like me. They look like my grandma. They have the same feet, the same everything. So I'm like, oh my God, how did they fly? How did they get there? So all I'm saying is we have more similarity than differences.
Mm-hmm.
And either way we can portray that, whether we make superheroes like that, like Julia is making, or we go to camps, refugee camps. Either way, if we can bring more people together, there's more power to that. And just go look at if my book comes out, just look at it, the idea of mastermind, of how we can use people, but also empower them. Because when you look at the disciples that Jesus took on as his project, they also became very powerful. And that's the idea for me as a leader. Yeah, as a leader in a company or as an entrepreneur, I want to bring on people, help me in the areas that I cannot, because I know I cannot do certain things, but also I want to empower them. When people help me with the juices, the first thing I tell them is, take this as your grandma's recipe, so that they can feel like, hey, everybody has a connection. They have a grandma, and they can feel that kind of connectedness to the product as well. And I cannot express more that the world is becoming smaller. We can all learn from one another, even the people who are in the concentration camp. I'm very sure, Casey, you're learning a lot of stuff from those people. And, now we have Zoom. It's easy for us to communicate even more. And, so, yeah, I think there's power in people. People are generally good. Yeah.
Henry, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that was very well said. I wanted to add also, I know Jules, before she left, had mentioned who her favorite superhero is. And my favorite superhero, I watched a lot of cartoons. We didn't have much TV in my house. We had a TV, but we only got 3 channels. And so we got Saturday morning cartoons. So that was life to me. And I was a fan of Batman, still am, but I always really loved X-Men. Rogue from X-Men, favorite. I was like, I'm gonna grow up and I am gonna be Rogue from X-Men. She's amazing. She kicks butt. But also her balance is caring for others. She cares fiercely about others, and she uses that as her power. She's able to absorb powers, and she just takes care of the people that are around her the most and that she loves. And I think that that's so amazing. But she's not on her own. She's a part of the X-Men, right? She's a part of a bigger group, and they all have different skills and different talents and different powers. And they work together because they know that together they're able to accomplish so much more, even when individually they're amazing superheroes. And I think that really comes to light. I have, have One Digital World as my nonprofit, but I don't do it on my own. I have an amazing team, and they are brilliant. And I would never be the same without them. And being able to have experiences like this, where we're getting to get together and share ideas and share our thoughts and have these, you know, brainstorm sessions together, is so powerful and so important, because there's different viewpoints that we don't consider that really round us out. But something also from my traveling, I've noticed a lot of the same things, Henry. I thought that, you know, people would be really so different from all these different places, but I spent a year before working in the camp, I spent a year backpacking. And I spent like 4 months in South America, 2 months in Europe, 2 months in Africa, 2 months in Asia, a month in Australia, a month in New Zealand. And I met so many people from so many cultures and languages, and realized, yeah, we're really all the same. We all really have the same sense of humor. And we all really live our lives actually the very same way, and we love the same way, and we go to sleep the same way. We have the same kind of goals. We want to take care of our families the same way. And it doesn't matter what your language or your religion or where you live. It's
and also I'll add on to that, like people don't realize that to actually to go from starting something in your kitchen to becoming a very full-on entrepreneurship person, you need people. That's when you start hiring people, then you know, oh, I grew, like this is going somewhere, you know. Somebody put it this way, say, if you start paying other people without paying yourself, then you know you're making something, you know. So
yeah, get yourself a stacked corner.
I know.
Get those good people around you, to not only to support you, but so that you can support them, and you guys know that you're doing it in the right mindset. So have the same goals and the same dreams, but also know that the ways that you get there can change, and make sure to keep listening to each other.
Great, thank you so much. We just had 2 questions come in, and we do have to wrap up very soon. I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but Emily, is it okay if we take these 2 questions from Christina and Maria?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Christina wanted to know, was it hard to leave family behind and travel to other countries to further your cause? How did you know you were ready? So I'm guessing, Henry, that might be directed to you. We do have a second question that is also for you. So how did you know you were ready? And was it hard to leave your own home country, coming here and starting a business eventually as an immigrant to the United States?
Yeah, thank you so much. Was that Maria you said?
I think that was Christina. And then we have a
question. Okay, good. Yeah, so that's a great question. I think about that all the time. That also includes somebody asking me, when you sleep, do you dream in Luganda or in Swahili or in? So I think about this question all the time. But I think, like I said, my story is a unique story, because growing up without parents is really, really hard, especially with growing up in an African setting. You know, it's a really, by the age of 5, you're like 10 in terms of, you know, what you want to do and understanding. So when it reached the time for me to pack my bags and go, I saw it as a new challenge. I was scared, I'm not gonna lie, because that was the first time I've been on a plane. That was the first time. I didn't know anything. I was really, really scared, but I also had this background that, hey, I've gone through this so many times, I can do it. And I remember when I was on the plane, I sat next to this guy coming to Minnesota. He goes, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm going to Minnesota." He looks at me like very weird. He goes, are you crazy? I'm like complaining in Amsterdam that I was cold. And I'm going to Minnesota, which is even more colder.
Yeah.
He goes, are you crazy? I'm like, you know what? But I also understood the fact that I needed to better my life. And I think that was the driving force, like I said. I needed to change something. Actually, as a matter of fact, when I was still a little young, I would always ask, I would always tell my people around me that I wish I can travel somewhere, you know? So I wish I can go somewhere so I can get the new life and, you know, get to work and do other stuff. I love to do a lot of stuff, but one of the things I learned from my grandma, it's like always coming up with new things, like learning and getting, like the juices. I'm always, you know, fascinated of how the other tests will work out, and, you know, meeting new people, and, you know, so, but I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. When I left, I was excited, but I was also scared because I knew it was different. You know, I probably in my life I'd met only like maybe 2 white people so growing up. So I was like, I have no idea, but it all turned out to be all right. You know, and I've worked out really hard to like learn English and learn business, how business works here. But again, it always goes back to St. Thomas, having that base of connection. And also, I didn't get to talk about this, but you need, in my view, you need like about 3 people. You need the spiritual person who is, you know, somebody who is guiding you in the spiritual world, because that's very important. And you need a societal person that was my grandma, you know, in terms of, you know, teaching me what to do, seasons and all that. And then the business person, you say, you know, this is what you do. If you do a business, you do it this way, especially when you go in a new land. Because I believe Casey knows, when you travel that much, you gotta see the Romans do things in the Roman way, and then when you go to Uganda, you do things the Ugandan way, you know. So I am really comfortable in situations like that. Like, I can just go somewhere and I pretend as if I've been there for years. So, but it's all about my growing up and how, yeah.
Thank you. Really love hearing all these elements of your stories for both of you. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we are going to wrap up. I do want to invite Juliet back in. One thing that we really want to do is to invite everyone today to the virtual finals of the Fowler Global Social Innovation Challenge. It's a pitch competition focused again on social entrepreneurs, student social entrepreneurs at St. Thomas, at the University of San Diego. It actually engages universities around the world from over 17 countries. So we're running our finals tomorrow at St. Thomas. We share the links. You're welcome to RSVP and join us. And I know San Diego is also hosting their final on the 29th. You'll get to really learn more about entrepreneurs who are growing on our campuses, and we invite you to join us for that. We do have one more thing that we wanted to offer our audience today. Since we didn't get the opportunity to meet you in person and have you meet our wonderful panelists, sample juice, play some demos of video games, what we'll be doing is we'll share out a resource, and I would like to invite Juliet to talk more about that, and anything we can do to help you even experience our panelists work more after the session. We'll kind of work with Ashoka to see what that would look like. So thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful having you, meeting every one of you, even though we didn't see you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for setting all this up, and thank you everybody out there that was listening. We're really, really happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Olivia.
you so much.
Juliet, did you want to wrap up for us real quick?
Yes, so in the chat, I put a link to an incredible resource that we share with our students here at USD, and I know St. Thomas shares with their students as well. It's an online resource for a learning library put forth by Acumen. They are world leaders in the social innovation space. And I'd just like to say a sincere thank you so much to our incredible panelists.
Yeah.
We are inspired by you. You are superheroes. So thank you so much. And for our audience members, thank you so much for your great questions and for joining us virtually today.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.